I'm touched and humbled by your words, and thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the invitation once again. And at this point, I'd like to close out and say, may God bless you all, and may He bless you with understanding, increased understanding, wealth, and a safe travel back to your homes. Peace be.
Okay, Grandmaster Woods.
Yes, Brother
Reverend,
Hassan.
and so forth. Could you just give us a brief thought of how you experienced this meeting today?
I think, Brother Hassan, that it is an extension of the meeting that you and I had over lunch. A meeting of minds of various backgrounds, of various cultures, and certainly of religious persuasion. And I'm a firm believer that this meeting will be beneficial to me as a minister and beneficial to me as a Mason. And I'm very appreciative to God for allowing me to meet you and Mustafa El-Amin, and to hear of the growth that he has personally made. And I think that as time goes on, he will grow even further.
Now, what is the challenge that you get from this experience that may change the Masonic view, or maybe even help to Muslims to understand Masonry?
Well, in the first place, I do believe that he is exactly right in the offensive material that is in the shrine initiation. I'm a firm believer that it should come out. However, on the other hand, I think that if we are going to exercise a higher level of thinking, that we must learn to look over those bumps in the road. We are creatures of habit, and initiatory processes of our various degrees were there long before we joined the Masonic Order, and consequently, things are hard to change, but always remember that in the vernacular that would be used in describing Ruth and Boaz, what you see is not always what you get.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, and I really appreciate it. And for my perspective in sharing this, and I appreciate you inviting the Muslim community also to be involved in this dialogue. And I want to publicly also invite you to come to the masjid to give presentation anytime that your schedule fits and so forth.
Thank you, sir. And who knows, further down the road there, we may share in another lunch. And hopefully that more meetings like this will take place, and I do believe that there is a distinct connection, as Mustafa El-Amin has brought out, between Islam, Freemasonry, and certainly the catalyst would be Egypt. Yes. God bless you and God keep you.
Thank you. Peace be unto you too. Grandmaster Stanley, could you just give an overview of how you felt about this last session with Mustafa El-Amin?
I thought it was an excellent presentation that Mustafa made. Certainly, there were things that he pointed out, as I heard Grandmaster Woods mention, about some of the offensive kinds of things that may be within the shrine portions of some of our ritualistic presentations. But I think, as I said earlier, that both the fact that the Masonic Order is not a religion, but is a brotherhood, and of course, secondly, you know, where we all have got to get to is the understanding of, as we go down that path, each one of us see just a little bit different perception, but we're all going to arrive at some point in time in the same place together.
That's right. You know. That's right. Okay, from your experience also, what do you think is a challenge for the Muslim community as well as the Mason community in terms of the future?
To continue to communicate, because I think that if we continue to communicate with our desire to come as one, we may at some point be able to arrive just there. You know.
Thank you. God's peace be unto you. Brother Brother Todd, would you just give us your overview and who you are and what you represent in this?
Well, I'm Brother James V. Todd, President of the IRS Holder Senior Chapter from Brooklyn, New York. And my overview is that this is one of the best sessions that we've had. Certainly we're in search of more light and knowledge. And we know that a lot of the distortions has been going on, and that we're placed in certainly a bad light. And what we're here about is to try to set that record straight and develop some self-esteem for ourselves.
Right. And what do you think the impact or the change would be for the Masonic Lodge, and also maybe the impact on the Muslim community this type of dialogue will have?
I think it'd be for the better, especially for us, because I'm a firm believer that the black man was the origin of it all. So no matter which road we choose, it'll be better for all of us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. God's peace be unto you. Okay, Brother Blevins, could you just give us a general interview of who you are and what your views of this conference, this particular session?
I am the Grand High Priest for the Arkansas jurisdiction. This is my first meeting of the society, and really I think they are headed in the right direction in that they are giving us food to cause us to think and help us to clear up probably some of our thinkings because of past experiences. And I think it's going to be good for all of us who get involved in it to give us a better outlook on humanity and what we might be able to do to help improve humanity across the state and across this world, across the nation, really.
Okay, what is the challenge that you think that this particular dialogue offers for the Masonic community as well as the Muslim community?
It challenges us to put aside those things that tend to prevent us from doing the things that would benefit all humanity. Help clear up our thinking and really put our responsibilities to our relationships in the background so that we can move ahead together as brothers.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. God's peace be unto you.
Thank you very much.
Brother Jamal, could you just describe who you are and what you experienced in this particular conference?
Well, Brother Hassan, as you know, I am a Muslim. I am T. Jamal Safiullah. And one thing I like to say about this, what I say, this historical event, this historical dialogue has been one of enlightenment to me. What I see, dialogue like this would enable us as African American people to really work together in a united way to help liberate the mind of our people here in America and bring more enlightenment to our people.
Okay. In terms of the information that you heard, what is the challenge put forth to the Muslim community as well as maybe to the Masons at large? What challenge do you think that come out of this particular dialogue?
I think the challenge is to continue this trust, to break the narrow barriers that we have among each other, is to break out of that narrow cycle and begin to work more in unity and do the kind of thing that we know that is necessary to bring our people into freedom and liberation of the mind.
Thank you. God's peace be unto you. Brother Dixon, could you just give us an overview of your experience, who you are, and how this particular session enlightened you?
I feel as though this is a very enlightening experience, especially on the subject of Islam concerning Freemasonry. I'm a strong believer that wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. With all that getting, get understanding. So we're trying just to form an understanding of what we as Freemasons are about and what the Muslims are about.
What is the challenge, I think, put forth, that you feel is put forth in terms of yourself as being a Mason, in terms of what the Muslim community may experience and change, or even in these dialogues? What do you think is the greatest challenge that we receive from this dialogue?
I think that the greatest challenge is for us to be more open-minded, especially more open-minded. I think that we need to really think about what brotherhood means. I think we need to really think about what friendship means. And I am more concerned with being a friend and being a brother than anything that may be religious, because we know that God didn't make religions. Man did.
Yes, sir. Okay, I think one other question. You have known Brother Mustafa for quite some time. Could you just give a little, just short history of your relationship, who you are?
I first met Mustafa in '87 in Washington D.C. and since that time our relationship has grown through correspondence, telephone calls, and other means of correspondence. We have sent correspondence back and forth to each other, and he's an example for me as a young person to strive as not only as a writer but as a person, as a human being.
Okay then, thank you very much. God's peace be unto you. Reverend Uzzel? Uzzel, I'm sorry. Could you give us an overview of what you felt about the information that was shared, and what is the challenge for the Muslims as well as the Masons in the coming 90s?
Well, there's a lot of challenges ahead of us. There's difficult problems in our world, and as I see it, one of the biggest problems that we have in our world today is difficulty of people understanding each other. And I do believe in this dialogue, as it continues, there is an effort made for people to reach out and touch and to understand one another. People have a right to be what they're going to be. I believe in religious freedom. I believe in the right of all religions to exist and peacefully coexisting with one another. And no one has a right to bring death threats on anybody because they happen to hold different religious views. But we in Freemasonry seek to work for harmony of all religions and to try to find what's best in each man and to lift that up and work on that.
What is the challenge you feel in terms of being a Freemason and outside of that is the challenge of freedom of speech? I mean, how far do you think you can go in terms of that?
Well, freedom of speech has been one of the traditional ways of expressing limits on it. Doesn't give one the right to yell fire in a crowded theater. And certainly the person has a right to express their opinions on different subjects. But, when they start threatening someone with bodily harm or say you must fall in line or whatever, or else you have to suffer the consequences, that should not be tolerated. And as is pointed out, I don't believe that some of these death threats, such as Khomeini's, is symbolic. And as I pointed out in my lecture about al-Halaj, I mean, in that case, it was actually carried out.
Yeah, well, in many circumstances, if we live in this country today, we'll find many challenges. My specific point of question is the resolution. What is the resolution of those type of issues? In other words, how can we resolve those type of issues?
I'm not sure about your question. How shall we resolve what?
Right. What is the challenge for us as you as a Freemason, me as a Muslim? How do we look forward to resolving these type of questions where the limits? You're talking about a limit there.
Well, we have got to learn to agree to disagree, and that everybody's not going to accept our point of view, but we can still be brotherly about it. We can still love one another, and we can still strive to the things that we can agree on. There's going to be some things we disagree on, but we can see there are certain projects we can work together in the community. Certainly there's many problems today. I've seen a lot of places that the Muslim community has gone out and tried to really work hard to fight drugs. Well, the Masons need to do more of that. All right-thinking people. Drugs and crime and violence and teenage pregnancies and high school dropouts, things like this. Creeds didn't have anything to do with it. These are things all right-thinking men and women ought to be concerned about.
Thank you. God's peace be unto you. Okay. Could you just give me who you are and what was your views of the comments and of this particular session?
My name is Lloyd Bourne. I'm a minister, pastor of Methodist Church. Also, in this session, this is my first session I attend of this society, and I like it very much. And I learn a lot from it. And will continue each time this kind of sessions around to follow it up so I could grow more.
What is the challenge you find from the information that was shared? What challenge do you see that is coming to the Muslim community as well as to the Mason community, and how do you think that we can deal with those challenges?
The first thing in those challenges, we must find an understanding, then find the trust, and like that then you could have a unity. Because of today, we need to get the unity. Because if we stay divided, we must fall. But unity, we stand. And that the only way we could come together is in unity. Read and understand what we read, and believe what we read by the Supreme Being, which guides us to all our understanding. Because there was a man who asked, God talked to him one day, he said very plainly, give me understanding.
Okay, thanks. God's peace be unto you. Okay. Could you just give me who you are and just give me an overview of how you felt about the information that was shared and what you felt was the most positive part of that?
Well, I'm Ira Holder from New York, and I'm happy to be here. The information that I gleaned is broadening my understanding not only of Masonry, but of world religion in general, which is something that we should all be cognizant of. And the biggest or the major thing that I get out of my participation in these programs is expanding of horizons.
In terms of that horizon, how far, what is the challenge to take the Masons into the 90s, or what is the challenge even that you offer to the Muslim community as to expand their horizons in the 90s?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, is change. It's clear that we've got to do some things different than we did in the past. If we're going to get into the 1990s instead of just marking time. The world is constantly changing. Everything is changing. We've got to change likewise just to keep up.
Okay, in your final analysis, what would you recommend to a new Mason coming into the fold as terms of this type of dialogue?
The major thing I would recommend to them is an open mind and a dedication to studying, to continue learning. Too many of our Masonic brothers think that once they've obtained their Masonic degrees that they've got it all. And that's the biggest mistake any Mason, or for that matter, any individual, regardless of their affiliation, could make.
Thank you. God's peace be unto you.
Thank you.
Could you give me your name and how you felt about this session of the Masonic Dialogue?
My name is Malcolm H. Perkins, Salisbury, North Carolina. Past Commander-in-Chief of the Georgia Area Consistent, and past District Deputy of 26th District, Prince Hall Grand Lodge.
And why do you feel, what information?
I have, this is my third session visiting the Philax Society. I am a life member of the Philax Society. I'm a life member of NAACP. Every time I come to this meeting, I gain a lot of knowledge that I didn't know about Prince Hall.
Yes, sir.
So I enjoyed every session. First session was in Dallas, Texas. The second session I enjoyed Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this is the third. I wanted to go to New Orleans, but I didn't make the New Orleans trip.
What is the challenge you feel as a senior Mason? What is the challenge that you feel that the young men will have for the 1990s?
I think that if they come to this organization and listen and learn, I think they will improve themselves and they will get attached to it, and they won't want to miss one. That's the way I mean. But sometimes circumstances cause you to miss things out, a lot of things that you can't always get in on.
What would you recommend for a new member coming in terms of this type of dialogue? Would you?
I'd recommend he come right on in and apply himself and try to learn more about Prince Hall Masons. That's what I'd recommend.
Okay.
And you can do that only by making your visits in to the annual meeting. You can't stay home and do it. Of course, you get a magazine, but the magazine don't cover everything.
Right.
I'm a third degree Mason since 1963.
Yes, sir. Okay, then, and thank you very much for your comments. I am Imam Johnny Alim Hassan, the Imam of Masjid Amin Zakaria, and we have had spent a session here with Dr. Uzzel, who is a critic of one of the books that Mustafa El-Amin has wrote, and we would like to thank the Masonic community for allowing us to participate in this particular activity, and we would also like to thank all of those who came out and welcome everyone who came here to Little Rock, Arkansas for this special occasion, dialogue between the Muslims and the Masons. Thank you. God's peace be unto you.